Yo, what's going on, guys? Watomarmelon back here again for the monthly upload. Thanks for all the support on recent videos. Appreciate it a lot. Today I'm going to be talking about whether the Yu-Gi-Oh market's in trouble, in my opinion, obviously. But the stuff I'm going to be showing off, so this is a stack of cards for my personal collection. You guys know I've been going back and collecting a lot of like vintage unlimited stuff and Game Boy promos, stuff like that. These are a couple cards that I was planning to grade. But for whatever reason they were off center or they had print lines, and so I'm not grading them. And then here's a PSA submission. I think there are 20 something cards in here, and a lot of them are pretty cool. They're not just trash. So without further ado, let's get into it, and I'll thumb through all these cards while I talk. So these are the ones that are, for my personal collection. A lot of them aren't in great shape, not horrible shape, but just some cool stuff to look at. So the reason that I am, bringing this up is because there's a lot of fear right now, specifically in sports cards, about the status of the market, where there are too many cards, one being graded, that I think we've definitely seen, where the graded cards have taken a huge retrace, but also just raw cards, there's not as much of this, there's not as much interest as there once was in these cards, because a lot of people who really thought of themselves as collectors, they were willing to spend a lot more because they had a feeling that these things were going up, and were going to appreciate. But now that prices have come down a little bit and they're not seeing the growth that they once thought they were going to see, and they're a little more hesitant to put money, even if they do still have the cards and they like what they have, they are hesitant to spend more. And so it's just causing a cascading effect, a positive feedback loop. This one, actually, this specific card's pretty interesting. That is not on the card itself. That's part of the printing. That's a printing error right there. It's a little hard to see because there's a sleeve, but that is not just a smudge on top. Just an interesting card from LOB. But going back to the topic, essentially, people aren't seeing the gains they thought they were going to see, and people are hesitant to spend any more money. And I think a lot of people are regretting decisions that they made over the past 2 years during this sort of mania. And we're seeing a lot of collectors exit. If you just look at channels like, for example, Ruxin, you see he's buying collections basically every other day. And I think that's a testament to the fact that a lot of people are regretting decisions they made. And we've already seen considerable retraces in a lot of prices. And, I think a lot of people are expecting the retraces to only continue. Now, there's a lot of other macroeconomic effects and certainly microeconomic effects. The Fed has raised interest rates quite considerably. We're entering what many consider to be a recession, or many consider we've already been in a recession. So these are the PSA cards that I'm submitting, and so people are just spending a lot less on cardboard, which is understandable. And I'm wondering where you guys think prices are going to end up relative to their prices before all this mania. Let's say late 2019. How much higher will prices be than that 2019 time? Because I'm expecting that they're not going to be a whole lot higher. I think, they might be, but I think there's enough of this stuff dug out from old collections that were just sitting in closets. And, during the pandemic, people had time to go back and look through their collections, see what was expensive. I know I did. I remember in the very beginning, right? I was actually finishing up my last semester of college, and the pandemic hit. I was sent home, and I had a lot more time. I was just sort of sitting at my room because everything was closed. And I went through and I actually dug up my old Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon collections, like almost immediately, because I was just cleaning up my room as I got back. And I sold off all the Pokemon cards for the most part. I have a couple that I really do like, but there's crazy stuff in there. Like I had a Metagross Gold Star, which is an expensive card. I had a ton of vintage stuff and Nintendo era stuff, and I sold it for like $200 on eBay, right? And this is all to say that there's just a lot of this stuff that was sitting in closets that no longer is sitting in closets. There's a lot of supply, even though these cards weren't printed per se. A lot of people dug them up, and so there are a lot more of them hitting the market. And even though there are definitely collectors that got in during the pandemic who are still around to bring up prices, there's that increase in supply. And so it's hard to know, where prices are going to sit, even though there are more collectors than there once were. And so, when you think about these things, you have to think about, why would cards appreciate? And the reason I think most people give as to why cards are going to appreciate, there has to be a mechanism, right, of how they're going to appreciate. I think most people think it's because most collectors are in their late 20s of these cards, specifically Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I'm actually early 20s, but I'm turning 24 very soon. So I'm kind of on the younger side, but from my channel demographics, I can see that most of you guys watching this video are between the ages of 25 and 34, with a couple, between the age of 18 and 24, right? I think those are the age ranges. But regardless, most people, they're out of college. If they went to college, they're already settled in a sort of job. And so, yes, there's going to be some increase in salary that is going to result in higher card prices. And so that's a reason to believe that prices are going to go up in the medium to long term for, more coveted cards that people actually want in their collections. Additionally, this is a cool card right here. Black Rose Dragon, ultimate rare Japanese. But yeah, so that's one reason. And the other reason is that you would expect that new collectors are going to get into this hobby, right? There are kids who are presumably playing this card game who, maybe are 13 years old right now, that don't have money to collect cards, but after, they get a good job, 10 years from now, they might have money, or 20 years from now, they might have money. This is a reason that I think people are particularly optimistic about a game like Pokemon that is extremely, extremely popular with young kids right now. Yu-Gi-Oh, is very popular back in 2002, 2003, but it's not super popular among kids these days. And so that, I think, is going to be much less of a contributing factor than the first one, where there are people, for example, myself, I'm living off a PhD stipend, which is not a whole lot of money, but, once I finish graduate school, presumably I'll have a pretty decent paying job. And, for example, my older brother, he just finished medical school. For the past however many years, he was essentially like paying close to $100,000 in tuition plus expenses. Now he'll probably be clearing, $250,000 once he finishes residency and fellowship pretty easily, right? And so there are people that are still going to get higher salaries within these age ranges, but I think that it's not going to be as significant as something like Pokemon, where you also have a ton of younger people who really don't have any money right now that are going to be, making money to spend 2 decades from now. And then one of the concerns that people have, I think, is that a lot of the prices that we've seen are due to people putting their expectations for future prices into the current price at the current moment. And so this is dangerous, because if people think, look at how many young kids are playing this card game, look at how much growth there's going to be in just salaries of people due to them getting promotions, accepting higher paying jobs, etc. And, just finish, if you finish paying off your house or whatever, you're gonna have a lot more spending money. You're no longer paying your mortgage, right? And other loans like that, student loans, etc. And so there's a reason to believe that these things are going up. But if you essentially add that reason into the current price, then essentially the price is higher than it would be just due to supply and demand. And so you're not going to see the growth because you're already paying the price that it would normally be 15 years from now. And so that's the danger, I think, with expecting these cards to go up by a huge amount. And so, let me know what you guys think about that, because it's possible that we're really not going to see any growth, because even though salaries go up, and, maybe some collectors have a considerable amount more money to spend, it might be that people projected these prices into the prices that they were paying during the pandemic, and we're never going to see those prices again. It's possible because people have exited the hobby, and those were already prices they would normally pay, 20 years from now without this external projection. So I don't know, it's impossible to know where the prices are going to be, but all this is to say, I'm enjoying the lower prices as a collector, but I still have a ton of inventory to sell, stuff that I like, right? Like all these cards, for example. Like, I don't think this is a trash card. I don't think this is the first printing of Jinzo ever. I don't think people think that this card is like trash, right? It's a beautiful card from, I think, 2001, something like that. And so it's a beautiful card, right? Like, this is the first printing ever of Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. These aren't the ultra parallel rares, but they're still, prismatic secrets, which is quite nice. And so I think people do want cards like this in their collection. But who knows what the price is going to be on these things. And I still need to sell them. All these cards are ones that I don't want in my personal collection. Or, not that I don't want them per se, but these are ones that I'm intending to sell. Every single one of these is being graded so that I can sell it. With the exception of maybe if one of these Chaos Emperors gets a 10, which I think they have a good shot at it. They're both well-centered, good condition. I might keep one of them. But other than that, all these are for sale. And so I don't know if there's going to be, a buyer pool to absorb all these things at the prices that I'd like. And so, who knows where all of this ends up. That's all I guess I can say. I think that, if I were to make a prediction, I would err on the side of, prices aren't going to go up as much as I think a lot of people are expecting. I think there's going to be a long period of stagnation where prices aren't going up because people are paying the prices that they would have normally paid right now. They're paying the prices for 5 years from now, if that makes any sense. I'm not explaining this super well, but that's my, I guess, expectation for what's going to happen. But now that prices have come down considerably, it's fun because I get to just spend a lot. I can spend the same amount and get a lot more bang for my buck. Now, this is a cool card. This is a Rush Duel prize card. They actually released Graceful Charity in the same gold rarity as a prize card, and so I really want to make a purchase from Japan. The problem is, essentially, I don't know what's going on. There's this middleman called Polaris Grading, and I sent a bunch of cards to CGC, probably, 4 figures worth of cards, and I paid, probably like, I don't know, $300 something for the grading. That's a little bit less important. But, I was expecting the value of the graded cards to be around $2,000, $2,500, and I sent those at the end of June. And so I was expecting to get them back in July, maybe beginning of August. I still haven't gotten them back. They haven't responded to any emails. I'm wondering if I just got, duped or whatever. It's not the end of the world, but losing that much value, I was expecting to make another purchase from Japan and get stuff like Graceful Charity. So if you guys are thinking of using Polaris Grading as a middleman, do not. It is it's hard to say it's a scam, but there's something going on there. Regardless, this is an awesome card. I don't know what this goes for in a 10. I think there are 7 PSA 10s, 9 PSA 10s of this thing. So it's not super high population, but it's definitely readily available in the sense it's not like a, YCS trophy card, but it's still really, really cool. And then here's the, Prismatic, Secret, Starlight, whatever you want to call it, Monster Reborn promo card. So a lot of cool stuff right there. And then finally, I'll show off some of my fails. Things that a couple of cards I was planning to grade. Oh, why are these things clumping so much? Sticking together. All right, I'll deal with that later. Just too much humidity right now. And then, so we have Blue Eyes White Dragon, this alternate art. I think a lot of people don't like this. I don't think it's that bad of an art. However, I was trying to grade these things. Both of these things are stupid off-center, and also there are factory lines on the back, so I can't grade them. I was trying to grade these Pokemon cards, which I love the alternate arts, but these were both off-center. Unfortunately, I love Honchkrow. And this is actually something I've been thinking about. I've started playing Pokemon Go. My girlfriend got me into it. I don't know why she started playing it. And then I also played like the emulator for Pokemon Black and the emulator for Heart Gold. And so I really enjoyed those. I hadn't played those before. And so, I'm I've become a little bit more interested in Pokemon again. I loved it as a kid, and there's tons of these really, really cool alternate art cards, so I'm having fun with that as well. I might start collecting a little bit more Pokemon. But thank you guys so much for watching. I don't really know what that was. There's kind of a ramble about card prices and the Yu-Gi-Oh market in general. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to drop a like. It's been your boy Watomarmelon, and peace out.